Hey everyone, welcome back to Brazil Bound. I'm Greg Lalas alongside Simon Borg, and we're going to recap and analyze the U.S. 2-2 draw with Mexico. In honor of the way the match went, maybe we should do this show in two halves. The first half is going to be all me.
And then I would do the second half. I'd host it, and it would go downhill just like it did for the U.S. How about that?
It's always downhill when you start getting on this show. Anyway, yes, it was 2-2 for the U.S. and Mexico in Phoenix, but it was a great first half for the United States national team. They went up 2-0 thanks to goals from Michael Bradley and Chris Wondolowski. After the break, it all fell apart, and Mexico came back and got 2 goals. It finished 2-2, as I predicted, by the way. Just want to remember.
Did you predict that?
I want to remind everyone of that. What do you think of the game in general?
I think that first half, you mentioned those first 45 minutes, to me, the best the U.S. has played under Klinsmann. It was spectacular, sharp, quick passing, confidence on the ball. It was special. Then in the second half, all the subs came in. Mexico made some subs that helped them because they brought in starters, as opposed to guys they were trying out in the first half. And then on the flanks, they pushed the U.S. a little bit, pinned them back, and yeah, it got hairy a little bit for the U.S., but I would take that first 45 and frame it.
Yeah, but can you recreate it? That's going to be the issue right here. A game is not just 45 minutes long, it's 90 minutes long. Mexico made some adjustments, and the U.S. didn't adjust themselves. They were not able to play the ball up to the forwards to try and give themselves some time to breathe. And Michael Bradley got a little bit tired. He didn't sit back a little bit more. Speaking of Michael Bradley, though, a tremendous first half from him. He lined up alongside Kyle Beckerman in a 4-4-2, which is a system we haven't really seen Klinsmann play. It's a traditional system for the U.S., but he looked tremendous next to Kyle Beckerman. They looked very good. Our man Andrew Wiebe was in Phoenix for the game, and he caught up with the 2 central midfielders.
Well, guys, perhaps Miguel Herrera said it best after this match. In his opinion, Michael Bradley looked like one of the best players in the world during the first 45 minutes. He and Kyle Beckerman combining to great effect. Beckerman, the deep-lying number 6. Bradley, the freedom to push forward, final balls, even late runs into the box paying dividends. 102 passes attempted on the night, 96 completed between the duo, both looking at their very best for the U.S. men's national team. We talked to both players afterwards about the freedom Bradley enjoyed in that new role.
I didn't necessarily look at it so differently than normal, other than now you're playing with a guy in Kyle who does a good job of being disciplined and taking care of things in front of the defenders, and it means that I'm able to have a little more freedom and have the ability to be more two-way and be more up and down, and it's certainly something I enjoy.
Yeah, I thought we got a lot of joy from it, and he can just be effective in more dangerous areas, and so for all of us, really, there was a lot of space and a lot of attacking options once we got the ball, and we were able to really shut him down and not give him much. So it was good.
So the play of Kyle Beckerman and Michael Bradley was the talk of, certainly of the first half at least, but it raises a question now, Simon. Normally it would be Jermaine Jones alongside Michael Bradley here. What does this performance from Beckerman do for Jermaine? What does it do for Klinsmann now? Does he have to make a decision? Would he really not start Jermaine Jones at the World Cup?
I think he should not. I've been saying for a while, I think the U.S.'s best chances at the World Cup is if Jermaine Jones gets injured, and he basically forces Jurgen Klinsmann not to play him in that case, because we
don't want to hope an injury on anybody.
We've been down this path before, though. Remember the Panama game when it was Bradley and Cameron?
Yep.
They played the spectacular soccer. Bradley needs to be the boss of the midfield. When Jermaine Jones is there, he can't be the boss. Right. And so whether it's Beckerman, Maurice Edu, or Jeff Cameron, I think Cameron's the best fit. Bradley needs to be the boss with someone else behind him, and it's not happening with Jermaine Jones.
All right, well, the other big story coming out of this game, of course, the debut of Julian Green. Now, I got to be honest here. I just don't get it. There was a lot of hype about this kid. He's an 18-year-old phenom for Bayern Munich's reserve team. He has done nothing so far to prove that he belongs a shot at the highest level, at the World Cup. However, everyone seems to be happy with him. They seem to enjoy the debut enough. But is this a kid that you're really going to bring to the World Cup?
Not me. I mean, look, if you talk to people who really know the game, they're not happy with this, because you saw a kid out there. Here's the final tryout before a World Cup, before the camp starts. And you have a kid, his knees knocking, he's falling all over the place, he's wetting his pants, and that's what we're doing with the final tryout when you have guys who have worked hard to get there on the bench still. You could have done other things with that substitution. This is an experiment that is deemed to fail.
Simon, a lot of questions coming out of this one now. Who did the most to help themselves to guarantee a spot on that roster for Brazil?
I think it's Chris Wondolowski. He keeps scoring. 9 goals in 10 games, I think the stat is. And that run that he makes to get that goal, I don't know what other forward the U.S. has in its stable that makes that run. And I think he is goal-scoring magic that you want to have in Brazil.
Well, I think we already mentioned Beckerman, so that's one. But for me, it was Michael Parkhurst, the Columbus Crew defender. Didn't put a foot wrong, playing out of position at left back. He has the versatility to play anywhere on the back line, and I think that versatility is kind of one of those amazing, fortunate X factors that you can bring in. And ultimately, he could actually even play in the midfield if necessary. But I think we know DeMarcus Beasley is going to be the starter at the left back. Right. Could Parkhurst be the right back?
Yeah, the right back is still up in the air as far as I'm concerned. I expected Yedlin to start. He didn't. Tony Beltran did. But you know that maybe Klinsmann doesn't rate Beltran that high because he called him in last minute when Brad Evans couldn't make it. So I think ultimately it's probably going to be a Brad Evans or Fabian Johnson situation. Fabian Johnson usually plays on the left with the U.S., but he's playing on the right with his club team.
What did you think of Yedlin? I thought he looked good when he came in.
Yeah, I thought he looked good, but too short a stint for him, and I would have loved to see him have the whole half start the game out.
All right, well, why don't you let us know who you think actually helped themselves to get on the roster for Brazil. Let us know in the comments below or hit us up on Twitter @Gagins or @SimonBorg. That's it for this Brazil Bound. We will be starting weekly shows next week. Every Wednesday there's going to be a Brazil Bound video all the way up through the World Cup, so make sure you join us for that. For Simon Borg, I'm Greg Lalas. We'll talk to you later on.